HH Bray inside, and also the cards. Now they support the value of the gems and also a description of them. I'm sure they will attract attention.
Now what about the cars that the robbers used? 2 stolen cars, weren't
Yes.
they? What about them, the Ford Escort, first of all?
Well, the Escort was abandoned at the service station, as you saw in the clip. The Astra, that was found later on the car park of the Co-op in Sturchley, Birmingham. So sometime on the 9th, we're looking for a sighting of that being left there.
And we must also say that the Escort has actually been returned to its proper
Yes.
owner, so we don't want to know where it is now. Now, what about the nature of the robbers themselves? Were they local, do you think? I mean, they used a phrase or a word, babs, didn't they, which strikes me as local dialect, perhaps.
Babs is a sort of Midland term for love or dear, and the robbers had Birmingham accents, so we have to think there's a strong Birmingham connection.
And this wasn't a spontaneous action. They'd obviously planned this crime to the nth degree, haven't they?
It's clear it's very well planned. They knew the lady would be alone that morning. They knew of an unusual route to the service station there on the Warwick bypass, and clearly they had a second car, a getaway car, ready and waiting for them. Now, if somebody knows where that car is, it's a problem.
And do you think they might have sort of tipped a few people off in the underworld? You know, they might have discussed it among their criminal fraternity?
I'm sure there's been a lot of conversation about this. Somebody knows somebody responsible for this.
Is there a financial incentive for anybody to ring in if they have any knowledge about this?
The lady, she was seriously hurt and she's traumatised, but we're talking of a £5,000 reward now for information leading to the arrest and conviction of these people, and also a 20% reward if we recover property from this matter.
Well, George Stepney, thank you very much. And let's not forget, this was a serious crime. A firearm was involved, and that lady was traumatised very seriously. 0500 600 600 if you can help. There may be a reward, as we've said. Now, that number is direct here to the Crimewatch studio, but other detectives on the case are standing by on 01926 415 747. That's Warwick, 415 747.
Are you, like me, annoyed that white-collar crime, especially major fraud, often goes unpunished? Well, you can help adjust the balance. Do you know this man? His name is Mark Henderson, 30 years old, 5'10", slim, with short brown hair and usually smart appearance. Someone very much like him swindles suppliers out of hundreds of thousands of pounds. If you know him or have seen him, give us a call right away on 0500 600 600 or call the Kent Fraud Squad on 01622 654 803. That's Maidstone 654 803. Now, 2 women, one of whom is trying to cash a stolen cheque. Here she is in a bank in Perivale, West London. The cheque is from a handbag that had just been stolen from an elderly shopper at a supermarket in nearby Wembley. We assume this other woman is entirely innocent, but she may be able to help tell us who the fraudster is. The two seem to know each other. If you recognise either of them, do give us a call on 0500 600 600 or call direct on 0181 733 3223. That's 0181 733 3223.
A few months back, we reported how, with help from Crimewatch viewers, a callous thief had been caught and sent to prison. He'd been posing as a police officer and targeting elderly people to steal their savings. Well, now we need to catch another man doing the same thing, again preying on the vulnerable. This time there's a pretty big police operation because he's caused misery for a large number of people in Newport in South Wales.
He's tried it on at least 25 times over the last 3 years, and all his victims have been aged over 70. The start of his pattern of offences was in March 1995 in the Cullion Road area of Newport. Then onto either side of the River Usk, first aiming at bungalows and then onto nearby terraced houses. How does he travel? Does he have a car? He appears well dressed and his manner is polite. Is he a local man with no commitments? Is he self-employed or unemployed? He's often free during the week and at different times of the day. In the reconstruction which follows, details from several cases have been amalgamated to reveal as much about him as we can and to hide the identity of his victims.
I keep up with my bills. I never owe anything. So I used to keep the £20 notes that I had with my pension on one side and pay the big bills like the council rates and all that out of it.
Yes?
Mrs. Roberts?
Yes? What do you want?
It's the police.
Have you any ID?
Can I come in?
You better sit down.
I can't stay long. I tell you what it is, Mrs. Roberts. There's been a lot of forged notes going around this area recently. Have you any £20 notes?
Yes.
Could I see one, please?
Yes. I keep my notes here.
Thank you. Oh, dear, I thought so.
That can't be a fake.
Do you have any more?
Yes.
Can I see them?
Here you are.
I tell you what, you couldn't get me a damp cloth, could you? So I can test them.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberts.
Well, I suppose so.
When I came back from the kitchen, he was gone and I couldn't see sign of him anywhere. He left the doors open and just went.
Hello?
I started shaking all over, panicked, you know, and I thought, I wonder if he'll come back. And I knew he wouldn't. Couldn't wait for the police to get there. It's after it's all over that you begin to think, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. But you don't think of it, do you? Especially when he said he was from the police.
Well, one of the first attacks that he carried out was on a very elderly lady. She was 92 years of age. And we are absolutely positive that he followed her from a post office. And she has never, ever returned to the house at all.
The thief is probably in his 40s and well built. His face is said to be round. One woman talks of his complexion being very pale. His hair is jet black, though it might be dyed. Some witnesses thought it was a wig. Apart from his generally smart appearance, there's nothing consistent about his clothing. He seems to have several homemade versions of an ID card.
Do you recognise this man? Or have you been approached by him and not reported it? Maybe the amount he stole was trivial. Maybe you were just too upset to tell anyone. And there have been several times when he's tried to rob people and didn't get away with it. In fact, now we'll show how important it is to check, at least with someone, if you're worried or in doubt.
My mother, she's an unbeliever. She don't really believe what people say. Especially when it comes to money as well.
I'm from the police.
Oh, you better come in. Come through here.
You only got to mention the police and old people are nervous.
I believe you've been paying some bills with forged notes, love.
I don't think so.
Listen, can I have a look at your money?
What for?
Well, you might have some forged bills, see, without knowing it.
I'm sure I haven't.
Well, let me have a look anyway.
I think I'm going to phone my daughter.
Now, there's no need for that. I'll just go and check with my colleague in the car. Okay?
I am going to phone my daughter.
That day, I think I would have ran him over if I saw him coming out of the house, because I was that angry. Because it was my mother, and that people won't want to live on their own because of fear of people coming into the house.
He's been committing these offences for nearly 3 years, and he's caused such a lot of distress that the police have at times had over 30 officers on the case. Now, please, think carefully. The man knows Newport very well, and he has a local accent. Who do you know who's well-built, with a pale complexion, jet black hair, perhaps a jet black wig? The first offence was in March 1995. The second was in August 1996. Now, that's a gap of 18 months. Where was he during that time? If you know, well, you can do the community a lot of good. 0500 600 600, or call the local police on 01 633 245 333. That's Newport 245 333.
Earlier this year, there was a high-speed car chase in Liverpool. 2 men were caught, but the third escaped. It followed a surveillance operation involving a gang of burglars who targeted large country houses. This man is now being sought. He's Richard Norman Blundell, 36, 5'10", athletic build with short dark hair and a swarthy complexion. Detectives have issued a stern warning. He may be armed and should not be approached by members of the public. But if you've noticed him anywhere,